So, today we're going to dive into what is, without a doubt, the most complex and important system we know of, the biosphere. And when I say that, I don't just mean the ground beneath our feet or the air around us. We're talking about the living, breathing skin of our entire planet. You know, getting a handle on how it all works isn't just for scientists, it's about understanding our own place in the universe. So let's get right into it.
Here's how we're going to tackle this. First up, we'll pin down what this zone of life actually is. Then, we're going to take a quick tour of some of Earth's most incredible biomes. After that, we'll pop the hood and look at the engine that powers everything. And from there, we have to talk about our own human footprint. Before we wrap up with our role, our responsibility really, as stewards of this amazing planet.
All right, part one, the zone of life. We've got to start with the basics, build that foundation.
Okay, so what is the biosphere officially? Well, it's the whole global system that includes all living things. But here's the part that really matters, the key idea. It's not just about the creatures, it's about their relationships and how they constantly interact with the non-living world. You know, the rocks, the water, and the air. It's a system of connections.
Think of it like this. You've got the atmosphere, which is all the air, the hydrosphere, which is all the water, and the lithosphere. That's the solid ground, the crust. Now, the biosphere isn't some separate fourth thing. Nope, it exists right in that incredibly thin, precious zone where those three overlap and interact. That's the magic spot. That's where the chemistry of life can actually happen.
Section 2, a tour of Earth's biomes. So now that we know where life hangs out, let's go see the incredible variety of forms it takes. Time for a grand tour.
To wrap our heads around all this diversity, we need to talk about biomes. If you imagine the biosphere as this gigantic shared home, then a biome is like a specific room in that house. Each one has its own unique climate, its own furniture and decor, if you will, and its own special set of residents that are perfectly adapted to live right there.
And our first stop is probably one of the most crowded and liveliest rooms in the whole house, the tropical rainforest. I mean, this place is just bursting with life.
You'll find these hotspots right near the equator. Think the Amazon, the Congo Basin. They're basically defined by two things. It's always hot, and it gets a truly mind-boggling amount of rain. We're talking over 2 meters of it every year. All that water and sun fuels that iconic feature, the super dense, multi-layered canopy, where literally millions of species are in a constant battle for a little slice of sunlight.
Okay, now let's take a hard turn and visit a totally different kind of place, the hot desert. Talk about a change of scenery.
What's wild is that deserts like the Sahara are often found at similar latitudes, so they're also really hot. But the story here is the complete opposite. It's all about the extreme lack of water, less than 250 millimeters a year. So life here isn't about thriving in abundance, it's about pure survival, which leads to this sparse, incredibly specialized vegetation.
Putting them side by side like this is just wow. Look at those numbers. More than 2,000 millimeters of rain versus less than 250. Dense, overlapping life versus sparse and highly specialized survivors. It just goes to show how a single ingredient, water, can create two completely different worlds. It really drives home the incredible adaptability of life on Earth.
So, how can these completely different systems even operate on the same planet? Well, that brings us to Section 3, the engine of life. Let's look under the hood and see how it all works. You know, at its heart, every single ecosystem runs on a really simple, elegant flow of energy. Step 1, it starts with the producers, plants mostly, soaking up energy from the sun. Step 2, consumers move that energy up the food chain. You know, the rabbit eats the plant, the fox eats the rabbit. And finally, Step 3, the cleanup crew, the decomposers like fungi and bacteria, break everything down when it dies, sending all those vital nutrients right back into the soil so the whole cycle can start over.
And that recycling of nutrients, it happens through these amazing processes called biogeochemical cycles. Think of the carbon cycle, that's moving the literal building blocks of all life. Or the nitrogen cycle, which you need to make proteins. And you can't forget the phosphorus cycle, which is essential for making DNA and for ATP, the energy that powers every single cell. These cycles are like the biosphere's invisible plumbing and recycling plant, making sure nothing essential is ever truly lost.
Which, well, brings us to a tougher part of the story. We've seen how this beautiful system is designed to work in balance, but now we have to face our own impact on it. So this is Section 4, the human footprint.
The truth is, our activities are throwing these delicate systems out of whack in some pretty major ways.
When we clear forests, we're literally ripping out the producers that form the base of the whole energy system. Our pollution is contaminating that hydrosphere and atmosphere we just talked about. Climate change is messing with the basic rules of entire biomes. And frankly, our overconsumption is just sucking up resources way faster than those natural cycles can ever hope to replace them.
But look, the story doesn't have to end there. Understanding the problem is always the first step toward finding a solution. And that brings us to our final section, our role as stewards and what the future can look like.
The good news is we already have the tools to make things better. We can set aside protected areas, these national parks and reserves, to give nature room to breathe. We can switch our thinking to sustainable development, making sure we meet our needs now without screwing over future generations. We can actively go in and repair damaged ecosystems. And we can work together on a global scale with international agreements to tackle the big stuff, like climate change. The roadmap is there.
And so, it all comes down to this one final, really important question. For billions of years, the biosphere has adapted. It has sustained life through incredible changes. But now, it's facing a challenge that is 100% of our own making. So the question for all of us is this: will our generation be the one to finally step up, to recognize our critical role in this system, and to take the actions needed to secure its future?